Welcome back to Tackett's House of Horsepower. It's me, Steve Tackett, and I want to keep going on this little 63 no post. What do you think? Hopefully you saw the last video where we pulled the drivetrain out of it. Engine, transmission, drive shaft, exhaust, radiator, all that came out. We gotta still, there's some wiring I wanna get out of here, hoses and stuff we need to take out of here. Then maybe take this front clip off. The fenders need to come off, the grill needs to come off. Most important though, that forelug's got to go. All the forelug suspension's got to go. So that means the rear end's gone, the front spindles, all of it's got to go. We're gonna rebuild it. We're gonna clean it. I'd like to paint it. You know, at least all the engine compartment, suspension and stuff. You know, we'll make it look pretty and clean all this up. All right, I think I'm gonna start high and work my way low. Get these fenders out of the way, get this grill out of the way, pull this wiring out. Then we can see what we're working with here. And then when we start on the suspension, you know, we'll have more room to work. Luckily, all this stuff is like only held on with like 2 bolts, it looks like. So it should come apart real easy, like real easy. Okay, it's more than 2 bolts. Buy stock in WD-40. Whoa. One fender off. So apparently this was not attached to the fender. Great. Okay. What's holding this grill on? Nothing. Really, like nothing. This grill don't look that bad, really. It's pretty straight. I'll probably reuse it. There's a 64 grill inside the car, and they look almost identical at a glance. Hold on. At a quick glance, most people can't notice it, but a 60, here, I'll bring you down. At a glance, they're not really that noticeable. If one was driving by you, you can tell that this is a 63 because it doesn't have the openings cut and it doesn't have this trim piece. There would normally be here. There's a trim piece that goes on here. See what I mean? So that's 64. This is 63. Just in case anyone was wondering. Well, the fenders are off. Grill is off. This side, look what I found. Oh no. What happened? Our Nova has been in a little bit of an accidente. Oh no. That's not what you want to find. I don't know if that's done any damage. Besides the obvious, but I mean, is the car straight? I don't know. That's not good. That's really not good. Well, I'm looking at it closer and I'm not too worried about that just yet. My door gaps seem to be okay. It's within adjustable limits, I guess you would say. Also in the front corner here. Let me scooch over here. It's not terrible. So I think we could probably get inside there and maybe pop that out a little bit. I just worry because Novas are notorious. I mean, they're unibody cars and it's basically a tin can. If you hit this thing anywhere, it shifts everything. Like everything will shift out of position. They are, like I said, it's a flimsy unibody car. It's not like a Chevelle. So Novas that get hit hard is kind of scary, but as long as my fender lines up okay and my door gaps line up okay, I think it's just cosmetic. I'm gonna try and get inside here and maybe see if I can pop it out some. I'll worry about it in the future. But right now, I'm gonna continue stripping this and get started on the suspension and steering here in a second. Okay, moving right along. Let's get this electrical out of the way. Anything else that I can take off. Get this thing stripped down as much as possible. And then we'll move on to suspension and steering. Looking at these electrical wiring harnesses, they actually are in pretty good shape. I'm gonna probably reuse them. I can modify them, you know, get rid of the external regulator and all that. So some of this is gonna go away. Some of that's gonna get cut down. I'll remove the resistor wire and repin it for an HEI. So that's probably, oh, by the way, I'm probably gonna go with an HEI. I don't like dealing with points. I mean, they work fine, they're great, until you gotta mess with them, and then you gotta adjust them and clean them and all that stuff, and I just ain't doing it. There's nothing better for a stock-ish application than an HEI distributor. I mean, you're almost crazy if you don't run an HEI distributor, as far as I'm concerned. Unless you're going full aftermarket, you know, MSD and stuff. But anyway, let me go ahead and pull this through. Looks like it's gonna come out in one piece, I think. All right, all the electrical came out, all in one shot, no problem. So that's pretty good. I want to point out a couple things. If you have a 62 to 67 Nova and it's a straight 6 and you want to put a V8 in it, the first thing you're going to need to do is get these frame mounts. These are the correct V8 frame mounts. You can tell because it's kind of short and stubby, and well, one of them is a little bit longer than the other one. The long one goes on the side with the steering box. So the little bit longer one goes over here, the little bit shorter one goes over there. They do kind of angle backwards just a little bit. See it? So that is the correct setup you want for a V8. If you're putting a V8 in a 62 to 67 Nova, you want that. The other thing you're gonna need is the gas pedal linkage. It needs to point up instead of down. A straight 6, they point down. So you need the correct V8 gas pedal linkage. The other thing you might want to think about is the fuel line. You see where this fuel line is? It's running on the inside of the frame rail. It comes up over here on top of this frame mount. That's fine. That's how the 6 cylinders would have been. You could leave it there, but be careful if you're running dual exhaust and you got headers. If you're running Fender Removal headers, who cares? It's going to go on the outside. But if you're running any kind of exhaust on the inside of the frame rail, that fuel line is going to be awful close, like basically touching. So on a V8 car like Okie, the little Okie wagon out there, Okie was a V8 car factory, and the factory fuel line, it jogs over underneath the car. It comes up in the same place, but when it gets to right about there, it jogs over and it comes on the outside of the frame rail, and it comes through a hole. They poke a hole like right about there. They poke a hole right there and the fuel line comes through it. And then you just run a rubber hose straight to the fuel pump, which would be right there on a V8. So that's something to think about if you're running a V8 or you're gonna switch from a straight 6 to a V8. That fuel line, keep a close eye on that. I mean, reroute it if you can, but just keep it away from headers and exhaust. That's a bad deal. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is boxing stuff up. Now, I've done so many Novas, I could take this whole car apart and put it back together in my sleep, basically. But if this is like your first project, if you're just starting out, or if the car's going to be down for a long time, I would highly recommend bagging and tagging. And I'm really not showing that stuff, but you should really bag it, tag it, get some Ziploc bags, write with a Sharpie on it, you know, right front, left front, fender bolts, you know, whatever. You need to tag it, fill it out. Organize it, keep it organized, keep it bagged, tagged, get some tape, you know what I mean? Tape it up, write on a Sharpie where it came from, what it goes to, you know, especially if the car's gonna be down for a while. You know, a year later, 2 years later, you're trying to put it back together and you don't remember. So take pictures, bag it, tag it, you know, it'll make your job a whole lot easier when you're putting it back together. All right, enough screwing around. It's time to do some heavy lifting. I'm going to start ripping forelug stuff off. So I think the best thing to do is start in the rear. Let's do that. Let's get the car up in the air. I'm gonna support it at the body. Then I'm gonna split the rear shackles, let both leaf springs down, and then unbolt the rear end and slide it out the back. So, sound like a plan? All right. All right. First thing I'm gonna do is get the tires loose. Somebody commented on one of my videos. They were like, how come you only use hand tools? I don't know. I have air tools and I have an air compressor. I just don't want to listen to the thing run all day. And power tools and air tools are a great way to strip things out. So I've just always used hand tools, I guess. I don't know. But all right, now I can jack it up, get the jack stands. The car on jack stands and the rear end is just kind of hanging. So I'm hoping it's easy to drop these leaf springs. Sometimes the shackles are a pain to split open, but we'll see. Oh, wow. All right. Let's get the other side. Okay, I gotta pull the drums off because I want to save the emergency brake cable. So I gotta pull these brakes apart real quick just to pop that cable out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drop these springs. Check out my shocks. Yeah. You know, this car, look at the frame rails and stuff. Look at that. Everything is so beautiful underneath the car. And then you back up and you go, oh, what is that? All right, pop the brakes off. And then I got the emergency brake cable out, which is not that hard. You just gotta squeeze these ears. Squeeze these little ears, there's 4 of them. And then pop it out the back. This side's off. And this side wanted to fight me. That drum did not want to come off. But here we go. Again, this side too. Look at the wheel wells. Look at the frame rail. Look at that thing. Until you get back here. Oh! Okay, so I think I need to pop these shocks off. They're gonna be under pressure, so I need to get them off of there. Get those shocks off, and then I know, there's 4 bolts that go underneath this flange. I don't know if I could just lift it out, or if it'll still be easier to split the shackles. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, shocks are off. The only thing you need to save is that little plate. It goes up top. Don't lose that. I also pulled the exhaust hangers out just to get them out of the way. But it's starting to look kind of empty up here now. Got some room to work. But I also noticed this thing needs bushings, of course. I didn't order them. I meant to order them this week, and I didn't. So I need bushings all the way around. So for now, I'm just gonna pull this rear end and go ahead and drag that 5-lug rear end over here. At least get it in and get it sitting on the rear end. I'll have to drop the springs later and do those bushings. I'll order them up this week. All right, 1 4-lug rear end removed. Now I just cut the brake line because screw it. I'm gonna get a new one anyways. So this one's out of here. Let me drag it out of the way, and then I gotta drag that one over here. You know, it would be nice to have a lift. I wouldn't have to lay on the ground and do this, but that's all right. I'm having a good time and I'm making some progress, so I'm happy. All right, it's just sitting in there right now. That was a little more difficult than I planned. I got wounded. Wounded, man down. Yeah, okay, now we just gotta start bolting it all back together. But it's setting in there, and it's 5-lug. So we're heading in the right direction. Okay, it's bolted in. Both of the flanges are in. The hardest part is getting it back on that nub right there. This little guy right here, getting both sides to sit down flush on that nub and then tighten everything up. Sorry. You guys are getting dizzy. Yeah, so getting it back on that nub, getting the plates to sit flush, and then tighten everything back up, both sides. So it's in. It's bolted onto the springs. Now, let me go get some takeoff wheels just so I can roll it again. All right, we got some 13-inch, big old 13-inch rims out of my shed just to stick on here for now. As long as they hold air, that's all I need. But it is sitting on 5 lug, at least halfway anyway. Now we got to move on to the front, but I don't know. I probably won't get to that today, but I think we did pretty good, making some progress anyway. Now I got a mess to clean up. 4 lug stuff everywhere. I need to make a list. I need shocks, I need wheel cylinders, shoes, brake hardware, that brake hose in the middle, and bushings. And then, so it's just kind of temporary right now. But the hard part's done. All right, let's get started on the front end. Now, this is just like all Novas. Well, hold on. In the 1960s pony cars, this is the type of front end you would have. This is called a coil over suspension. And basically it's crap. I mean, I'm just gonna be real with you. It's a terrible design, and I'll show you why. All right, I took the tire off so we can see what we're looking at. So where was I? Okay, 1960s pony cars, like first and second gen Novas, Mustangs, Falcons, I think the early Fairlanes. This suspension is really common. And they call it coil over because the coil's over the top of the A-arms. It's on top of the upper A-arm. Whereas other vehicles, Chevelles, Camaros, things like that, third gen Novas, the coil goes from the frame to the bottom A-arm. And what that's gonna do is, the difference is, this is shoving them together. Whereas a lower one is trying to spread them apart. You see what I mean? And then you got, so look at it. The weight of the vehicle, okay? The suspension is holding the car up. The coil's pushing down on it. This ball joint right here is doing all the work. All the weight is on this ball joint and those bushings up there. So this A-arm, this upper A-arm really takes a beating. It's important to really take care of them and get your front end lubricated and greased, the Zerk fittings. As you can tell, this one probably hasn't been taken care of in a long time. But yeah, I've actually seen these where the ball joint will wear through and the ball will snap through and it'll bust out right here. And the ball joint will be hanging out the top of the A-arm. So there's a lot of weight on this. It's like I said, it's doing all the work. That upper ball joint's doing all the work. So that's your fail point right there. So I don't know. It also makes it a little more cramped in the engine compartment. You got these, you know, the towers. So I mean, it makes the engine compartment kind of cramped. I don't know. The thing to do, if you got about $4 grand or so hanging around, the thing to do is to rip this whole front clip off and go with like a Church Boys or a Hyde's front end, and you get rid of all this and you put a coil under suspension on it with rack and pinion steering, and it gets real fancy. But I'm not doing that on this car. I did it on the blue car. By the time you upgrade everything, buy the inner panels and all the brakes and hoses and lines and fittings, and you swap everything over, like the blue Nova out there, it was between $3,500 and $4 grand. So I'm not spending that right now on this car unless somebody wants to sponsor me. I doubt it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ditch the 4 lug We're gonna put some new suspension parts on it. We're gonna clean it up. We're gonna and we're gonna call this a day. You know what I mean? So let's at least get this 4-lug stuff off of here now. First things first, WD-40, everything that's got to come apart. Watch how wore out this stuff is. Can you see that? Yeah, I'd say it's pretty shot. What's the chances any of this stuff's gonna come apart? Oh! Yeah! Alright, never mind. Alright, we got the bottom A-arm bolt out. It's basically a cam. It's got a... basically, it's a cam. So as you turn this, it pulls the bottom A-arm up and down. And then this strut rod here, you adjust it in and out. So that's how you get camber and caster and swing the bottom A-arm forward and back. All right, give it a whack. Let's see if this thing won't hit the ground and smash my toes. We got it. Okay. Give me this. Give me this. Good Lord. Okay, looks like we got it apart. All right, I'm gonna do everything I just did to this side on the other side, and I need to drop the steering out of the way. Hopefully I can just split it right there and then unbolt it over there. And basically we'll be down to nothing but just the front sheet metal, which is what I want. And then we can clean and paint and do all that sort of things. All right, check it out. That is one stripped Nova. We're down to just basically the front sheet metal is left. The inner sheet metal, I mean. Front suspension is off. Brake line even came off. I didn't even strip it. Both sides. Can you believe that? So now we just gotta clean it and degrease it and paint it, and yeah. I was gonna start bolting it back together, but I thought, nah, I don't wanna be that sloppy. I'll do it right. I'll clean it all and strip it all, and then we'll paint it all nice. There's also a few parts I'm missing that especially this pitman arm and idler arm was real sloppy. Hang on, look at this. I can spin it. Yeah. So it needs a pitman arm and an idler arm and stuff like that. So I need to order some parts. And speaking of parts, if you need some worn out 4-lug stuff, let me know. I will hook you up. Okay? Check it out. Look at my new driveway. This is where it's gonna be. I told you my house is a construction zone right now. So anyway, I gotta start cleaning up. I'm running out of daylight. Well, what do you guys think of the little Nova? I hope you guys like Novas as much as I do. And if you do, please hit like and subscribe and comment and share with your friend and I don't know, something. I would really, really appreciate it. But I think that's going to be it for me this week. I got as far as I could get. I need to order some parts and do it right. There's a lot of cleaning and painting I need to do while it's disassembled. So that's about as far as I'm going to get this week. I did my best, got as far as I could, and that's all that matters. Progress. As long as I'm getting something done, I'm getting closer to the goal. And we get this on the road, and we get the next one on the road, and then the one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that. We just keep on going. So please hit like, hit subscribe, hit comment, give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends. I would really appreciate it. And I'll see you next week.